Hi guys, my name is Michael Bronstein and this is my response to globalization and inequality. So I think reading the story of Sajwan Nadine, the story was very interesting because of the fact of just how much of it was a love story. And it's a normal thing, I think, a normal story that can be seen in every globalized country, of every conquered country, of the inability for the conquerors, for the more advanced countries to be human and always cause pain and harm and damage to the lives of the native people. And that was seen pretty greatly for Sajwa Nadine, the story, although it was a love story, of just how much pain it caused for Sajwa to have found out of the death and abuse that Adinda had suffered under these Dutch army men who were really just trying to use the resources of the country. And that's a normal thing. And I think it was a normal thing as in just how much of it has happened in every conquered country. You know, every country that has been invaded by advanced nations, of them pretty much dehumanizing the native people and causing great harm and damage. Next, moving on to the videos. It was very interesting to have watched this video on Indonesian migrant workers because of the fact that I had studied this in my Southeast Asian politics class. And I think it's a normal thing for migrant workers generally that because they're migrants and not natives of the country, that they not that they will generally have lesser rights. And it is up to it is a modern nation. I think it's up to the strength of the bureaucracy and strength of the country to make sure that these rights of these people are not abused, and that generally is not something that happens normally in for migrant workers in economically stronger countries. And that's what we saw very greatly in this video. Moving on, I think the video on George Otero's story, I think for Mexico, was very interesting because it was similar to that of Ireland. Because for Ireland, after the Great Famine, nearly 5 million Irish left the country to go around the world for a better life. And there was a major issue that had been caused by that because of the fact that whenever the Irish left another country, they were pretty much put into a caste system. They were looked very much down upon, and that's similar to that of Mexicans because in Mexico, because as they leave the country, wherever they go, there's always going to be race issues, and they're going to be put into a caste system and looked down upon because they're immigrants. As well, for Ireland, after the Great Famine and the Great Migration of many Irish, this caused a massive issue for the economy because it could never bounce back with so many people that had left. And that's similar to that of Ireland because that's literally what's happening right now. I mean, sorry, with Mexico, because that's what's happening right now with so many Mexicans leaving the country. It has become a massive issue for the economy and is not quite able to strengthen itself, and it's kind of put itself in a loop of economic instability. And lastly, looking at this video of Sweden, I don't think that I very much agree with it because Sweden is a fluke or just not an issue that has or pretty much just has only worked for Sweden. Globalization cannot work for every single country, and I think that's just Sweden and other countries' benefits to it is not a good answer to every single country that should be globalized. And globalization has to be done right, and it was done right in Sweden doesn't mean it has been done right in every country. So now moving on to my own observations. Social inequality in Ireland truly is and historically is based around religion, whether or not you're Protestant or Catholic. And it has been a civil rights issue generally for Northern Ireland that being a Catholic would have caused you a lot of great harm in Northern Ireland. The same kind of civil rights issues that had come about during the civil rights movement of the 60s were pretty much the same for Ireland, that people who were Catholics had less rights than people who were Protestants in Northern Ireland. And that is and same thing would be going on for Protestants in Southern Ireland. And generally that's all based around the British colonization and how much of it how many people had turned to Protestantism based around where they were and how much the British had colonized and how much the British had influence. And so that's kind of the bigger issues that I noticed and historically and is still an issue within Ireland is based around which religious ethnicity you are, and based on who you are, whether or not you're Catholic or Protestant, people will judge you based around that. There's less of a thing of gender inequality, but that's the biggest issue that I've seen in Ireland. That's all I have for today. Thanks, guys.